Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Shook Sports Take podcast, another episode of my early season NBA team takeaways. Today is the NorthWest Division. This will be the second to last video of the early rounds of this. I've already said that I'll probably do some more come middle of the season, All-Star break time, and then of course at the end of the season. Today is the NorthWest Division. That would be, for those who aren't great with divisions, the Denver Nuggets, the Portland Trailblazers, the Utah Jazz, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a stacked division. There's a lot of great teams here. Um, yeah, I'm excited. If you haven't already seen the whole, I did the whole Eastern Conference, all of the divisions there, and then we did the Southwest Division in we did the Pacific Division in the West. The Southwest Division will follow this, and that'll be it for the early season. Let's get right into it then. We will kick this one off with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who, at the time I did my research, sit with a 9-5 record. They're sixth in the Western Conference. Now, you have to consider the fact that Anthony Edwards has missed 4 games already this season. 9-5 is not that bad. All 5 of the losses are to very strong teams. 2 of them to the Lakers, 2 of them to the Nuggets, and then 1 to the New York Knicks. Those are all really great teams. That's kind of how I'm going to feel about the Timberwolves, I think, all season. That they're going to continue to beat teams that are not as good as them. And they'll probably beat a lot of teams that are really close to their level, but they're just not going to beat the best. They're not going to beat the Thunder. They're not going to beat the Lakers or the Nuggets. They'll probably struggle out west or out east with the Knicks. Maybe they give the Cavs a good game in here, and they're gonna compete with these teams. But I just don't think they have the edge to beat them on most nights. That being said, Ant-Man is still doing his thing. 8 threes a game, shooting 38%, averaging 26. He's just continuing to get the buckets, to get the looks that he wants. He's worked so hard to improve that 3-point since getting into the league, and he's done a very good job at it. But really, the story for me with the success of the Timberwolves has come from Jaden McDaniels, because he has been stellar on both sides of the ball. His offensive game has improved so much. He's so aggressive getting to his spots these days. Much more confident in his handle and his ability to get to his spots. And then he's still shooting the 3 well. His 3's gotten a lot better. He's shooting 52% from behind the line at the immediate moment, which is absolutely fantastic. He's averaging 12 really efficiently. So it's been a really enjoyable thing to watch him go to work on both sides. He's still taking away the best option, or making it hard for the best option on the other team to score every night. He's just been really, really good. And there's so much to like about him. And then you have Julius Randle, who's continued to do things as well, get things done, 24, 7, and 6. Yeah, I mean, he is just hooping. And when Ant hasn't played, he really stepped up. He had 2 30-point games in the 4 that they played. He's just continued to be a big role of their success. He's still such a difficult guard for traditional power forwards to play against, because just of the way that almost his frame is, he's stockier and he's not as tall, but he's just more agile than the majority of guys he's going up against. So whether it's a 3 or a midi, or he wants to get downhill, he kind of just has this half step on every guy that he's being guarded by, and it makes him very difficult and very effective, even though it's not the prettiest basketball. I know that's a large criticism of him, especially when he was in New York, that people did not like his style, but at the same time, he gets it done. So there's not really room to hate or to criticize the game of Julius Randle at this point anymore. Now, the rest of this team is... There's some question marks around it. Rudy Gobert, I feel like it's time to move on. He just doesn't help the team. He's almost useless on offense these days. Now, he's still good on the glass, and I think he's still averaging like 10 to 8 points, but he just doesn't impact the team as much defensively anymore to warrant him still being this team's starting center. on this team at all, really. I think if they really want to make a push in the playoffs, that he has to go. Now, again, he's still protecting the paint well, but the amount of times he gets drawn out on pick and rolls and the offensive guard will just get a free look at it. We saw Jalen Brunson do it multiple times when they played the Knicks. We saw Jamal Murray get after him a couple of times when they've played Denver twice, and of course Luka did it. So these mismatch opportunities are just kind of feel like when they play elite point guards who are good in the pick and roll, it's just almost ends up being a free bucket because there's nothing he can do further out than like 12 feet from the hoop. And it's starting to, like I said, it's no longer worth it. His defensive effort is no longer worth the fact that he offers absolutely nothing going forward on the attack. And I don't know, man. Maybe I'm being harsh. Maybe he is still a vital piece. Maybe he's still going to figure it out. But I don't know. I can't help but feel that this team could make a move. And I don't know where they'd do it. But I feel like they might be better off with somebody else in that center position. Kind of the same way, and they've made this change. Mike Conley's no longer starting. They've gone to Dante DiVincenzo in the starting lineup, who's looked a lot more comfortable as a starter. Not quite back to the level he was playing in New York, but he looks more comfortable. He's shooting the three ball a little bit more consistently. He's scoring 14 points, shooting 38%. That's still not great. For a guy like him, you'd expect him to be shooting around closer to 40, 42. But he looks more comfortable, more confident in his shot. And then they have some guys on this bench that I'm just kind of surprised they're not getting more minutes. In Bones Highland and Rob Dillingham. I know Dillingham has not shot the ball well at all. But I can't help but feel it's not going to improve if he doesn't get more trust, right? But he does have to start performing for that trust to come, and so that's kind of like this back and forth thing. Bones Highland's been playing well. He is making plays both sides of the ball, and I'm surprised he's not shot too badly. I'm surprised that he's not seeing more minutes. Those are two guys that I think could impact this team that aren't really being given a chance. But at the same time, like I don't know. They haven't done it consistently enough to warrant them more minutes, and we know Dillingham has talent, but he has not shown it really at all to warrant real role in this Timberwolf team. Mike Conley is coming to the end of it. I would be surprised if he played more than 2 more years. He just doesn't seem to have it anymore. I love Mike Conley. Just such a smart point guard. Just did so much good for that Memphis team. He's done so much good for this Timberwolf team in the time he's been there, but I think it's coming to an end for Mike Conley. You've seen his minutes start to decline. You've seen his performance drop off. So that's unfortunate, but heck of a career for the guy. Really is like such an enjoyable point guard to watch. But at the end of the day with this Minnesota team, man, I'm thinking the 5 or the 6 seed, and I don't really know. Maybe they beat whoever ends up in that 4. I don't like the way they would match up with the Rockets. I don't like the way they would match up with the Lakers. So it might be a one and done for this Minnesota team. But I mean, I'm never gonna count out a guy like Ant, right? We've seen him do it in back-to-back seasons now. Really come through in the clutch, especially last year. He took this team to the Western Conference Final with the help of Julius Randle. I'm not going to say that they are definitely out of title contention, but I think it's unlikely with the strength of the West this season. Take us to the 10-3 Denver Nuggets, who sit second in the Western Conference. Jokic is still the best player in the league. I mean, it's pretty simple. He's averaging a triple-double. I think it's a 30-point triple-double at that. He went for 55 against the Clippers because they thought that they could take away his outlets, that they'd force him to score and you'd win the game. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen a coach decide to do. But, I mean, Jokic is just a monster, and he's so difficult to play against because it doesn't matter the game plan. If you try to force his teammates to score, he's going to make sure his teammates get plenty of open looks. If you try to let him be the one to score, he'll give you 55. I mean, yeah, it's just that simple, man. Jamal Murray has been fantastic too. He's really stepped up back into this borderline all-star caliber player that we've thought. I can't believe he's still not made an all-star team at this point in his career. But you know how talented the West has been the last few years, so it's been unfortunate in that sense. But averaging 23 and 6, shooting 46% from the field. I mean, the two-man game late in the games, where it's just him and Jokic pick and roll, pick your poison. He's been absolutely lights out in the clutch again, and that's something that Jamal Murray's always had about him, that ability to come in with huge clutch shots. He's tormented the Lakers the last few years in these situations. He just is really, really good, and this two-man game between him and Jokic to close out games has been so dangerous, and it's been almost unstoppable. And they are just rolling, man. Jamal Murray is really, really shooting well, and it makes this team so deadly. And then you add in Aaron Gordon, who has it's so crazy to me how much he's adapted his game, because when he first started blowing up on the scene in Orlando, he was very explosive. Obviously, a lot of people knew him pretty strictly from the dunk contest and his competition with Zach LaVine, but there was a lot to like about Aaron Gordon's game, but you never really pictured a superstar. You pictured somebody who was very athletic and could really be a great role player. He couldn't shoot. It was very bad. We've seen this a lot. Think about Blake Griffin when he got to Detroit, how much he adapted his game. Aaron Gordon's done the same thing here. Really developed a three-pointer. He's pretty good from the mid-range, and he's continued to be so explosive. Which at his age is fairly impressive, considering the fact that guys who are that athletic don't really seem to maintain it this late into their careers. But I mean, he is shooting 45% from three, averaging 20 and 6. It's unbelievably remarkable, the fact that he has changed his game to make sure he could play at the highest level. And obviously every professional should have that kind of commitment. You expect them to have that kind of commitment. But how quickly it's all really turned around, because even when he first got to Denver, he was not shooting the three anywhere close to this. He's shooting 45%. On opening night, he made 7 3-pointers, shooting 8 of them. It was ridiculous. I mean, this guy has completely revitalized his game, and he's become a huge piece to a contending team that I do think has a real shot at being at least in the NBA Finals this season. And it's really awesome to see. I mean, I just love the dedication it takes to, first, the awareness to notice that you're missing something from your game. And obviously, in the modern NBA, everyone needs to kind of be able to shoot. But to put that much dedication and work into it is awesome. And I love Aaron Gordon, and the fact that he has been so huge in the success of this team in Denver has been really awesome to see. Now, where Denver have struggled is the fact that Cameron Johnson has not started well at all. He's been really, really poor. He was someone that I thought, coming across from Brooklyn, where he was playing great basketball, shooting really well, and obviously he's taken so many more shots than he is now in Denver, but he kind of just felt like he was going to be a more consistent version of what they had in Michael Porter Jr. and probably a much better defender. And I thought that this was really going to help the Denver Nuggets in that push to close the gap to OKC. And like I said, man, he just hasn't hit the ground running at all. He is not shooting well. I mean, he's scoring 8 points on 38% from the field and 28% from three. It has been a nightmare start in Denver for Cameron Johnson, who I thought would have been a huge piece to this team. I was thinking borderline all-star with the way that he was probably going to be rolling off of Jokic. He has been deadly from the corner in Brooklyn. He was good off the dribble, and it just hasn't translated in the slightest. And it's been a rough start. Now, of course, he's got guys around him picking up the slack, and once he gets rolling, if he can find that consistency, then I think this Denver team is going to get to the point where they are closing that gap to OKC. Now, OKC, we'll talk about them in a minute. They're on a different kind of run at the moment. And then you have, a couple of teams like the Rockets, like the Nuggets, that are going to be chasing, and it'll be interesting. But the only other piece that I think are really worth talking about. And there's three other guys that are playing big roles. Christian Brown's role is kind of decreased from what it was last year, but you have to consider the fact that last year Porter Jr. was not playing well. I think Aaron Gordon missed a lot of time, and Jamal Murray wasn't playing very well. So the next guy up was Christian Brown. They were feeding him a lot, and he was having great games. His numbers have dropped off, but he's still playing really well. I mean, it's nothing to be concerned about, certainly, and I think that a lot of it is just the fact that they have Murray and Gordon playing as well as they are now. His role was always bound to decrease a little bit, but Tim Hardaway Jr. has been a great piece of this team as well. He's just shooting the lights out from beyond the arc, and it's exactly what this Denver team's kind of been missing off the bench, is a guy that can come in and just really shoot the lights out. I mean, you look at the teams they've had in the past, and the bench has been kind of the issue, especially in non-Jokic minutes. And that's why the next guy, Jonas Valanciunas, has been so important as well. It seems like, they're not going to have some crazy point difference like they did last year. I think it was minus 18 when Jokic was off the floor and plus 20, or minus 8 when he was off the floor and plus 18 when he was on it. Something just absolutely ridiculous. And that doesn't feel like the case anymore because Valanciunas can do a good enough job to keep this offense rolling. Obviously nowhere near the same level, but they're still having success when Jokic isn't on the floor, which has been huge for them. But yeah, man, I think, you know what? I want to give one more shout out. Peyton Watson has been fantastic. His build is just, he's so tall. He's got such a long wingspan that he is a nightmare to have to guard for most small forwards. He is very, very athletic, makes him very dangerous getting at the basket. He's a total lob threat at all times for this team, and in transition, he's really quick to get out there. And then on the defensive side of the ball, like I said, that long wingspan makes him very, very elite when it comes to shot blocking. And I think that that's another piece off this bench that the Nuggets have been missing. They've missed that extra step from Peyton Watson, which has really come along in the last few weeks. And I like him a lot. I really do. No, I'm not saying he'll never get to some superstar, elite, borderline all-star level, but Peyton Watson's going to be a very good role player for this Denver Nuggets team. And he's starting to shoot the ball better as well. So they've really just missed points off this bench, and that's what they're getting this year, and it makes them very dangerous. Overall, 2 to 4 seed at worst. They'll probably be the 2 seed trailing OKC. And this team, I mean, they could win the championship. Is it likely? No, I'm going to say the Thunder are more likely. But if I had to go with the second option, it's probably this Denver Nugget team. If it wasn't going to be OKC, I'd put my money on this Denver Nugget team to come away with the championship. When you have the best in the world in Nikola Jokic, and you have guys that are playing their roles so well off of him, I don't think there's a lot of teams that are going to have answers. And in a 7-game series, I think the Nuggets are the most likely to take away the championship from OKC. I cannot wait for this Western Conference playoff, man. It's going to be insane. But yeah, this team is legit, and I think the Nuggets have a shot at an NBA championship again this season. That would bring us to the 1 seed in the West at 14-1, the Oklahoma City Thunder. They haven't had Jalen Williams play all season. That's a guy who was an All-NBA player, second-team All-NBA player last year, an All-Star last year. And they've lost 1 game without him. This team is ridiculous. I mean, the depth is insane. They've just, I mean, we'll just start with Shea, man. Now, say what you want about him. This SGA conversation about the free throws is a different conversation for a different time. Maybe I'll make a video strictly on that, but he is a very, very talented basketball player. He has the best mid-range shot in the league. That thing is so pure. And his way of getting to his spots, whether it's the free throw line or his mid-range or whatever it may be, I mean, the guy is almost lights out, and especially down the stretch where he gets in these situations where the Thunder have to find a bucket. They go to him every time, and he scores almost every time. He's so consistent. I mean, he's going out there, only shooting 9 free throws per game on the season, shooting 53% with 6.7 assists a game. I mean, he is just a freak. He's not normal. And he's really getting it done, and he's continued to get it done for the last few years now. He's last year's MVP. I don't think he's currently the front runner to win it again, but I almost look at it, and if they do go on to break that Warrior record, hypothetically, they do go on and they break that 73-9 record, how do you not give the guy MVP? So he might win a second one. And this team just looks almost unstoppable. Obviously, they dropped one to Portland, which was a really strange game for them. They did not shoot very well in that game, and that is going to be some of the nights that they do lose, the rare occasions that they do. But the real talking point, the guy that stepped up a lot for this team this season is A.J. Mitchell, who has been unbelievable at getting downhill, and he shot the lights out really well as well, averaging 16, shooting 49%. He's just so aggressive at getting to the rack. He started to get himself to the free throw line as well, and the confidence that his teammates have in him to give him the ball in big situations as well. He's never backing down from the moments in these games. He's consistently coming up with big buckets down the stretch, and it's just so impressive to watch a guy go to the work the way that he does. No matter who's guarding him, he knows that he's going to get downhill and find a way to put the ball up at the cup or get himself to the line. And it's really impressive, man. Then you move into Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein, who have maybe... No, I'm going to say they've been the two best big men pairing all season. Chet, opening night, was ridiculous. I think he made his first 8 baskets of the season. But even beyond that, he's just so good. He's shooting the 3 ball really well. He's good at getting down and finding himself in mismatches with his height. And then he's too agile for big centers. So, he's been very crafty in the way he's found his points. And Isaiah Hartenstein's continued to do his thing, dominating the glass. Probably the best, outside of Jokic, one of the best passing big men in the league. He's just ridiculous. He's got that little spinning, behind the back pass, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. And he does it consistently. And then he's got that floater, which I think he's maybe missed 4 in his whole career. That's obviously an exaggeration. But, that floater is money almost every time he puts it up there. He is very, very good at finding simple ways to score when he's needed to score. Now, he's not going to consistently go for 17, 18 points a night, but he is consistently impacting this team on the glass and in the paint, and it's been a vital piece to their success. Those two guys down in the post, especially on defense as well, both being solid rim protectors. That's where a lot of their success on defense comes from, because those two man the paint, and then they have a bunch of perimeter defenders who are very good. Shea's a really great point guard for his size, somebody who does that much scoring. Those are the kind of the guys you think about. I'm not trying to throw shade, but you think about Luka Doncic. He doesn't do a whole lot on defense because his energy needs to be conserved for offense. Shea's not that way. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is very effective on defense, and I think a lot of that is his height. I think he stands at 6'6", which is huge for some of these point guards. And then you have guys like Cason Wallace, guys like A.J. Mitchell, who's been playing good defense, Luke Winsdort, who has been great on that side of the ball. Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins play great defense. Alex Caruso has been huge in the success of this defense. They're the best defensive team in the NBA at this point, and they're just continuing to lock down shooting on perimeter, and then the other two man the paint. That takes you to Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, who are both shooting above 40% from 3, averaging 14 points. Consistently off the bench, those guys are coming in and scoring big buckets. Wiggins has gotten a couple of starts. Cason Wallace has missed some time. But really, it feels like you can always rely on one of Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins to have a big night in scoring. And when they need that extra gear, one of those two is going to step up. Maybe Isaiah Joe hits 5, 6 threes. Maybe Wiggins is continuing to do his thing, whether it's from beyond the arc or getting downhill. But there's always a guy on this Thunder team that steps up when needed. And a lot of the times it's coming from a role player. Most of the time this season it's been A.J. Mitchell. But those two guys are continuing to have big nights when they're asked to have big nights. And that's been huge. Lou Dort, on the other hand, again, been phenomenal again on defense, but he's shooting 34% from three when really that's like the majority of where his shots come from. And when he's really only getting the look from behind the arc, you expect him to be shooting a higher percent. It's getting better as the season's gone on. He started really badly the first couple of games, but he's starting to figure it out. He's back into that flow a little bit. And he's obviously not holding them back because they're 14-1, but a little bit more consistency out of Lou Dort would be huge for this team to just not have to rely on SGA having to go for 35 a night, which he will do anyway. But it's just that extra buffer. If he can get back to shooting the way he was last season, then you have just so much success on the ball movement from this team. And that's something that I think kind of goes unnoticed in the fact that SGA consistently draws so many people. Same way Giannis draws a lot of attention from the Bucks. They just have this gravity that allows wide open shooters, and consistently wide open shooters for the Thunder is a terrible thing for a defense to have to face, because Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins and hopefully eventually Lou Dort will start to just annihilate you from beyond the arc. When those guys get hot, there's very little that other teams can do. And that's not something that shows up in the box score for SGA. He typically doesn't get the assists because there's always an extra pass in there somewhere. But the ball movement of this Thunder team is really impressive. Like I said, they're the championship favorites. It's that simple. I would be shocked if this team didn't find themselves in the finals. I think it is pretty clear cut. I shouldn't say shocked because there's some really good teams in this West, but they're the favorites. They are on pace to be the greatest team in regular season NBA history. And it's going to be a pretty unsuccessful season if it's not at least the Western Conference Finals and losing in Game 7. I mean, it's just they're really good. I'll put it that way. They are a very, very good basketball team. That would bring us to the 5-9 Utah Jazz, who are in the 10th seed in the Western Conference. Now, this overall roster feels far improved from last season. Some of that is the strides that both Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George have made. Both of them, their numbers have gone up a lot. Lauri Markkanen looks a lot more like himself that we've seen in previous seasons, averaging 30 and 6 boards. And then Keontae George is averaging 23 and 7, getting open looks for not only himself but his teammates as well. He has been someone that I wasn't super high on in the past seasons. I just felt that I didn't know what a lot of people were seeing when they were talking about this guy being a key piece to whatever Utah was trying to build. I felt like he was wildly inefficient, and on top of that, just overall, he wasn't anything super flashy. But he's been very good to start the season. He's shooting three very well, which is rather impressive. And then again, he's running this offense. Seven assists a night of a guy is always going to be pretty awesome. You're going to consider that guy a good passer, a good playmaker, and he's getting open looks for his teammates. Now, Ace Bailey, on the other hand, has not started so hot, which I'm not worried about him yet. I'm going to give him time. Guys are going to take a while to adjust to the NBA. Certain guys just need that little bit of extra time. But he has really struggled. 42% from the field, 8 points a night. He's not shooting that badly of a percentage, to be fair, but he just doesn't look very comfortable yet. I'm not too worried about him yet. I do feel that certain guys just take a while, right? It might be year 2 or 3 that Ace Bailey finally starts to hit his stride, but I wouldn't panic if I was a Utah fan watching him, especially when the fact that your team has already made improvements and the roster around him is getting better. I'd still bank on him being your guy for the future. We'll just see how long it takes for him to start to get there. Now, come the end of the year, if it's still looking this bad, then there's some questions, some concerns. But I'm not going to write him off anytime soon. But like I said, the roster around these guys, around Lauri Markkanen and Keontae George, is better than it was. There's guys playing better. You have Sinsaba, you have Nurkic, and you have Mikhailuk all playing well. I think I said that name right. I apologize if not. But yeah, these guys who are all really starting to play their roles. Sensabaugh gets downhill and gets to his spots really effectively. There is a lot of talent there, and he's so young. Um, Nurkic is just kind of doing his thing, dominating the glass in place of Walker Kessler, which absolutely sucks for this team because Walker Kessler was really starting to put it together between last year and the few games he played this season. And now he won't play for them at all for the rest of the year, which is brutal um, because that man controls the boards. That man is really starting to put it together, and I think he's going to be a very key piece, a cornerstone piece, if not for the Jazz. If they take too long and they decide that they can move on to help build for the future, move on from him to help build the future, he can be a really solid piece for some team that needs a guy that's going to come into their team and just eat the boards, man. There was a lot of talks about when the Lakers wanted to center him going there. I was saying that was a very dangerous move if they can get the right price for him. I don't think they had the facilities to get it done because I think Jazz wanted young prospects that they could develop, and the Lakers didn't have that. But Walker Kessler is very, very good. I'm really high on Walker Kessler. I think his ability to it's very similar to Domantas Sabonis, where you're going to get a lot of second chance points out of him. And he's a good finisher, so he'll probably just put it straight back up and get those points for you. But yeah, man, he won't play for the Jazz the rest of the season, and that's awful. Considering this team was starting to look up a little bit, it's just unfortunate. But you have a lot of guys, like I said, stepping up, playing better. I'd like to see Walter Clayton get more minutes. That's probably just because I really liked Walter Clayton out in Florida. I don't think that he's probably not going to translate to anything superb in the NBA, but I do think he could be a pretty solid piece off the bench for this team. At the end of the day, though, with this Jazz team, they're probably going to miss the play-in. They're probably going to sit right around where they are now in this 10 seed. They're nothing special, but they're starting to trend in the right direction, a direction they haven't been since D. Mitch left. So that is a positive for the Utah Jazz, and give it 2, maybe 3 years, and they'll be back in that playoff scene, I think. So then we are going to cap it all off with the Portland Trailblazers, 6-8, ninth in the Western Conference. They do have a win over the Thunder. They're the only team to beat the Thunder this season, so that is pretty cool. But look, they have started to cool off a little bit. They were starting really hot. Again, they had that huge win over OKC, and it's starting to slow down, slip a little bit. But there's a lot of talent on this Portland team. It's a very young team with a plethora of talent. I haven't been fully healthy all season. Now, there's a lot of places you have to start. Jeremy Grant is back playing much better than he was last season. He was pretty abysmal last season. He's playing much better off the bench. He's embraced this role off the bench. 18 points on 46 and 40 splits. I mean, he's just getting buckets off that bench. He's coming in, he's providing a push of points, just supplying the starters with help off the bench. That has been huge. Considering the fact that this team has struggled with bench depth almost the last 4 or 5 years. Because it's taken a while to develop some of these guys, but the guys they have developed are really starting to hit their strides now. We look at Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot Henderson. Scoot's not played all season. I cannot wait to see him get back out there. But then Shaedon Sharpe, who started really slow and hasn't been super efficient, but is still being very effective when he is scoring. On those big nights that he has scored, they've won games. And I'm assuming that he's going to figure out the efficiency. He's struggled from behind the arc a bit, but I'm not worried about Shaedon Sharpe finding his feet, especially once Scoot Henderson gets back out there. But then, man, Denny Avdia. Let me talk to you about Denny Avdia, because this guy might end up being an all-star this season. I think obviously it's way too bad. If they voted today, I think Denny Avdia is an all-star. And let's see if he can just keep it up. He's a future superstar, in my opinion. The guy, everything about him, he plays so hard. He is very quick in transition. He's hard to stop when he gets downhill, but then he can also light you up from behind the arc. It is seriously so much fun to watch. 25, 6, and 4, shooting close to 50%. He is just a gifted scorer, and it's really only erupted in these last 2 seasons where he's like fully blossomed into this. Maybe it's because he's starting to see more touches. I don't know, but once Scoot Henderson is healthy, I think these three can really start to propel this team in terms of scoring at a different level than we've seen in Portland for quite some time. Certainly since CJ and Dame were back there in that backcourt. And then you have guys playing roles. Drew Holiday has been great, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, helping organize this team. But he's still going for big nights when they need somebody to, kind of how he was in Boston, when they need a guy like him to step up. You know, the shots aren't falling for Shaden Sharp or Avia can't get it going. They're relying on Drew Holiday, and he continues to run this offense, and he continues to have scoring nights here and there that are pretty efficient, pretty big numbered. And it's been great. Donovan Clingan has been awesome. He is really effective down low. He's not a guy that's going to space the floor necessarily, but I mean, he's a big man, he's powerful, and he controls the paint on the defensive end as well. Then you mix Tumani Kamara, has been great on both sides of the ball. Now, his shooting has not been as great as it was in stretches of last season, but he's kind of a guy that's always run hot and cold on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see if he can get on one of those hot streaks here soon. But there's just so much awesome stuff going on with this team. Clingan's averaging almost a double-double. Sorry. And you look at Tumani Kamara with 11 off the bench. It's still playing great defense. This team is certainly playing potential, and I just can't help but feel if they can get to the play-in. Probably have to play 2 games, but if this is a team that gets hot, I could see them in that 8 seed. I really could, man. This team is certainly fun. They're probably one of the most fun teams to watch night in and night out, especially if they're getting it going. They do have their nights where it's not clicking and they're not fun to watch, but for the most part, this team is a lot of fun, and it's a team that I do think 2 years' time, we're talking about a serious Blazer team, especially if you can get Dame healthy. And not saying that he's going to come in and do a lot of good work for them himself, but helping develop guys like Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson, helping them, Denny Avdia as well. He's just going to be such a great mentor to have back in Portland. I'm sure he's already doing it now, even though he's not playing. But when he is, I just can't help but feel that this team is something special. That is it for the Northwest Division. Like I said, man, there's only the one more. There is the Southwest Division. That is it for this early season NBA takeaways. Let me know what y'all think about my takes on these teams. Feel free to agree or disagree. Let me know. I would love to hear the feedback. But that is it, man. That leaves us with one video left to go, one episode left to go. I think this Northwest Division is probably the best in basketball. Not that the divisions really matter, but yeah, it's just fun to compare, and I think this might be the best in the NBA. But that's it, man. I hope you all enjoyed, and thank you for tuning in for this one.